Down there, whoa. Whoa, it's way down here. Okay, the Suleika. And there are no more cases. All right, yeah, we mentioned 3, but they said there's 24. Va'ika detani Rabbi Yosef. But there is a case of Rabbi Yosef, that Rabbi Yosef taught in the Brisa, told us Ish Romi, that's where we're up to. Told us of Rome. Hini ges b'nei Romi, he instituted a custom for the Jewish people of Rome, laha'achilan gedoyim mekulosin b'leilet sechen, to eat a kid that was roasted with its entrails alongside it on Pesach nights, all right? And you know in jail, we don't eat roasted stuff on Pesach because we don't copy the Korban. It looks like the Korban Pesach, he says. Shalach le Shimon ben Shetach. Shimon ben Shetach sent him the following message. Ilmalei told us Ata, if it wasn't for the fact that you told us, Gashwani alecha nidui, I would excommunicate you. Here's the term again, nidui. Shata macha was Yisrael kadoshim b'chutz, because you're causing Jews to eat kadoshim. Should be, where did it just go here? This jumps so quickly. Outside of Yerushalayim. B'nishvasenu kamrinan. When we said that Rabbi Elazar could find only 3 such occasions, we meant that he could only find 3 instances that are mentioned in the corpus of our Mishnah, the HaBraisahi. But this episode with Todos is found only in the Brisa. The Gemara asks a further question. Must Nisan Leika, and aren't there more cases within our Mishnah? Ka'ika Hatasnan. So now they're going to give an example. It's kind of weird. Okay. But there is this instance which we learned in the following Mishnah. Chasacho chulius. Someone cut an earthenware oven into horizontal sections. And then he put sand between the sections to cement it together. So he broke his oven, and then he, put it back together. All right. In those days, they didn't have super glue or gorilla glue, so he put it together with sand cement. Rabbi Elazar declares it tahor, v'chachamim mitanim. So Rabbi Elazar says it's still good. The chachamim say no, it's tamei. V'zel tanuro shel achnai, and this is the oven of the coiled serpent. All right. So they describe this oven as a coiled serpent. Gemara interjects, my achnai. What do you mean by a coiled serpent? Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Melamed shehiki puhu halachad b'achnai zeh b'tamu'uhu. It means that they, the sages, surrounded Rabbi Eliezer like a coiled snake with proofs from analogous rulings, and they then declared it susceptible to tumah. All right? It was them against him. A Brisa tells of the outcome of this debate. The Sanya, and it was 2 in the Brisa, also Hayam, Haviu Kol Taharas Shatia Rabbi Eliezer. On that day, the sages collected all the things that Rabbi Eliezer had declared to her. So my Gemara is just jumping around here. And all of the stuff, usrafim lefanov, and burned them in his presence. Of lesaf berchuhu, and in the end they excommunicated him. Right. Another instance. The Gemara answers, afilu hachi nidoid masnisin lo tnan. Although the dispute that culminated in this excommunication is mentioned in the Mishnah, nonetheless, Rabbi Eliezer's excommunication was not mentioned in the Mishnah. That part of the story is only found in the Brisa. Rabbi Eliezer was looking for explicit mention of excommunication within the Mishnah corpus, meaning within the body of the Mishnah, which leads to the obvious question. But then where are the 24 places to which Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi referred to that they can be found? All right? Because so far we're looking, we don't seem to be finding any. Right, or more than 3. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Miranda, Milsa LaMilsa. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who mentioned 24 occasions, compared one to the another. Rabbi Eliezer Lomadam and Milsa LaMilsa. Whereas Rabbi Eliezer, who failed to find reference to more than 3 occasions, did not compare one case to another. Right. Again, I'm reviewing this superficially. I'm not going deep into Rashi's and Tosfos and but this is the only way we're going to catch up. And then again, this is my limit. Good. Right, keep it that way. The Gemara returns its attention to our Mishnah, which stated, Nosei Hamita b'chilufihem, regarding the pallbearers, those who stand by to replace them. Remember, we mentioned before that when they moved the coffin, it was like on the carriage, and then there were people in the front, people in the back, all that. All right. Rabbi Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, "Ein motziin es hameis samech l'kriya shema." We don't take out the body, in other words, to bury it, just when the time is very close to saying Shema. Why? Because we don't get in the situations where the people have to say Shema. Do they say Shema or not? What row are they in and all that stuff? But if already they started and commenced taking the body out for burial, all right, so that now the time for Shema has come, ain't mafsikin. We don't stop the burial. Gemara asks, is this really so? Rav Yosef, of course, Samach the Kriya Shema. Rav Yosef was taken out to burial close to the time of Kriya Shema. Gemara answers, Adam Chashiv Shani. When it comes to an important person, like Rav Yosef, it's different. Our Mishnah continues. Shlafnei Hamita Shlach Hamita. Remember the people who are in front and the people who are in the back of the beer. Of the coffin that's on the beer. All right. Tana Rabbanan, when I say beer, and beer, it all sounds alike. One is an animal, one is something to drink, one is to wear. So forget my English one. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in the Bais, Oskin behesped, regarding those who are occupied with listening to the eulogizing of the deceased when the time came to recite Shema arrives. Obviously not the person giving the hesped is not going to stop and say Shema. It's the people who are listening. This man shemet muto lefnehem, when the dead person is lying in front of them, nishmatin echad v'echad b'koran. Then they should absent themselves one by one, step back from the row, go to the back of the room or wherever it is, and say Shema. And a mace muto lefnehem. But when it's a case where the dead person is not in front of them, then they don't need to absent themselves. All right?
By burial.
Speak louder. By burial, same thing. Well, by burial site, the mace is in front of them. So saying in the back row, step back, say your Shema.
But you're still in
a cemetery.
Yeah.
We didn't say you can't say Shema in the cemetery. Just make sure there's, from what I recall, we're now within Taladamas of a mace. I think that's what we said. And obviously, don't pull out your tzitzis to say Shema, whatever. And this is not a halacha shir, so I don't know the answers. And Yoshin the Kohen, rather they may sit and recite the Shema together, V'hu yoshev domen, while the mourner sits quietly. Heimamdim is following, then they all stand and pray. V'hu omed matzdik alav v'sadim. While he stands, acknowledges. Remember the owning, he's not allowed to daven yet, so they're davening. It's mincha, whatever. It's getting late, all right? So he'll get up, but he'll be aware of what's going on, and in his mind be affirming it, but not be able to say it. So what does he say? So what is he saying? He says, "Oy, I've sinned greatly before you. And you have not exacted upon me 1,000 of the punishment I deserve. May it be your will, that you seal our breaches, and the breaches of all the people of the house of Israel in mercy. Abai takes exemption to this formula, this prayer. Amar Abai said, a person shouldn't speak in this manner. It's like shouldn't speak disparagingly upon himself. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, likewise he learned, or Bais was taught the name of Rabbi Yossi as follows. People said them, don't ask for weird stuff. Bring on, don't say, come on, don't bring on the Sutta. Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef said, Mikra, what supports this idea? Shneimar, because it says in the verse, Kemat Kistam, Ayinu, had not Hashem left us a remnant, we would have been almost like Stum. All right? Mayado lahu Navi. And what does the prophet say in Rejoiner in the very next pasuk? Shimad va Hashem katsine stum. Hear the word of Hashem, O chiefs of Stum. By confessing that they were deserving of punishment, just the way the Sodomites of old, the people gave the prophet an opening to label them chiefs of Stum. In other words, here's an example where people said, "Bring it on, don't do that." Right? Cover us a mace for Chazru. So they buried the body already, all right? And jumps. Cover, it must be the cold weather. I know what it is. Cover us mace for Chazru, all right? If they're able to complete the Shema before reaching the row where people line up to offer consolation to the mourners, they should begin, all right? They buried the body. Remember, in those days we said, then the mourners stand and then the people start to walk, as opposed to making the rows, and then the mourners walk between to say, Menachem. All right? If they have enough time, then they can say Shema in the interim. The ligmor es kulan. All right? The Mishnah implies if they're able to begin and complete all of it, and yes, then they should say Shema. But if they're only going to be able to do part of Shema, one sentence, one of the Brakim, not. Renuhu. Contrast to this, we bring another Brisa. Oh my God, it's jumping again. Why is this doing? Forgive me. I got to change the mode of this.
Would you like a safe?
No, because I don't have my glasses and I can increase the font here. Otherwise, I can't read. All right, so
It works.
I'm sorry.
Technology is good.
Except when it doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, so give me a moment. It just totally jumped. I'm trying to make it all the words so I won't do it.
You can say Shema in the meantime.
Okay. Forgive me for this temporary. We just said this.
Break.
To the Torah, we went past this. Rabbi Yeshua ben Rabbi's trying to buy them with saying this. Okay, it's right. Adam Chashav Shane, Askin Behesped. We just did that. Okay. Warm up my fingers. Okay. Who Yoshe B'Damim, Hemam the Mispalelin, the way she acknowledge. Cover us a mace for Chazru. Right? That's where we're up to. Okay. Urminuhu. I'm there. Sorry about that. But contrast this with the following. Cover us a mace for Chazru, and they came back. All right? It just says, in Yecholin, Lahastro, Veligmo, if they have enough time to do this, Afilo Perak Echad, or Pasuk Echad. Oh, so this is another place that's saying if you have enough time to say one sentence or parak, you should do it. So that's contradicts the previous one. Hachinami kamo, the Gemara resolves the contradiction. Indeed, this is what the Mishnah meant to say. If you're able to begin and complete, not the entire Shema, but rather afilo parak echad or afilo pasuk echad. All right, if you could at least finish one sentence or one chapter, actually lo yagiu l'shura, before the time that you're going to reach the line, yaschilu, you should begin. Being love, but if it's not enough time, lo yaschilu. Where are we up to? Next page?
Yep.
Okay, because that's what it looks like. Okay, the Mishnah continues. So we're up to Yuteh Samad Bais. The Mishura, those who are actually standing in the row, all right, to offer consolation, the law is as follows. The inner ones, those standing in the inner row, are exempt from reciting Shema. We've said this before. Those in the outer row are obligated to say Shema because they have time until they're going to get to the inner row. The Gemara cites a brisa which elaborates on this ruling. The rabbis taught in the brisa, Shura haroa pnima ptura, a row with a view inside. Yesterday we talked about inside trading. Now what Mom is talking about being right there, inside seeing, all right, are exempt from saying Shema. Shena roa pnimis chayeves. Whereas those standing further back, you imagine in the crowd, you're way back there, you're jumping up and down, trying to see. So if you're way back there where you can't even see the mourners to do the makam, so you're back there.
Cheap seats.
Cheap seats, okay? The bleachers, we said don't breach the bleach, okay? Shena roa pnima chayeves. Stay over there because you're distracted, okay? Right, Rabbi Yehuda says, those who will come on the mourner's account, all right, they're exempt from doing machmas atzman chayavin, but those who come on their own account to see, they're obligated to recite the Shema. What does that mean? It's like the curiosity seekers.
It's not covered.
Yeah, but I'm saying the people who are coming, what's going on over there in the cemetery? I want to see this. They have no chiyuv towards the mace. They're just coming to see what's happening. All right, so they have to, you know what? You have to say Shema. All right, the other people, they're mishpacha, they're mourners, the ownings, and this and that, the pallbearers, etc. Rabbi Yehuda, Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Hamatzi Klein Bevigdal, regarding someone who discovers a mixture of wool and linen fibers in his clothing, Pashta Nafilo B'Shuk, he must remove the garment even in the marketplace. So here's a picture. All right, the guy's right away, he said, I'm taking off my jacket. All right, he doesn't even wait. Just pass it around. You don't even wait. You take it off. All right, in fact, I'm take it off. All right, okay. Pashna filo b'shuk. All right, even if he's standing in the middle of the marketplace, my timer. Ein chachma ve'in tfuna ve'in eitzel neged Hashem. All right, we're going to keep on going this. There's no concept of there's no value to wisdom or understanding or counsel when weighed against the honor of Hashem. Meaning, whatever the law of, not the land, the law of the Lord is, I don't care what you think, what you dre, etc., etc. This is how we're going to go. Hashem. But what you learn? But if there's a place, a situation where you'll be doing Chilo Hashem and Chokin Kaver Larav, then we do not worry about giving respect to the teacher, the possessor of wisdom and understanding. Right. You see what these are, these situations. Mace faith. They challenge it on the basis of the following brisa. Cover us a mace for chazru. So they buried the mace and they're coming back. And they have two rows on which they can go. Achas Torah, achas Tameya. One was a tahor, and the other was tamei, meaning they could pass possibly over a grave in the second one. But the Torah, if the mourner takes the route that is a Torah, that there's no bones and no mate buried there, you walk with him. But if he takes the other route, where obviously is tamei, all right, bain imo b'tmeya. You didn't expect the answer. Still go with them in the tamei route. Mishum kvodo, out of respect for the mourner. It seems that out of respect for the mourner, the people accompanying him may allow themselves to become tamei despite the prohibition. They keep it done. Amai. Now, why is this allowed? After all, we're not supposed to override considerations in respect to mourner. Gemara resolves the difficulty. Tagama, Rabbi Abba, Bais Hapras, the Rabbanan. Rabbi Abba interpreted the Bais as referring to Bais Hapras, whose tumah status is only rabbinic. What is Bais Hapras? Bais Hapras, you have a field. At some point in the field, and we learned this before, there was a body there. Then they plowed the field, and the bones got kind of shredded, I hate to say, and they dispersed all over the field, which means technically, all right, you may or may not, it's like a landmine, reach that, all right? So they can discuss getting on all fours and kind of blowing the sand and making sure you clear the field, not to walk on something. So here's a picture, I don't know if you can see it here. All right, I'm going to pass it around.
Oh,
All right.
boy.
All right, but this pass it around.
Excellent.
This is a picture
Show
of
it to the camera also.
the army. I just tried to do it. The picture of in the army when they walk on all fours. Actually they're doing it there not to get shot above their heads. All right, but basically that's called an army crawl, I think. All right, but that's what the Gemara is talking about. Do an army crawl. Talking about Rabbi Yava, but Bais Hapras to Rabbanan. We're doing Bais Hapras. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav Shmuel, he says, Menapech Adam Bais Hapras v'holach. A man traverses a Bais Hapras, may blow on the ground of the Bais Hapras as he walks through it. Meaning, he does an army crawl. He gets down on all four, and he basically blows his hand and makes sure there's no bones, and thus uncovering any possible bone fragments, and he'll remain tahor by blowing him out of the way. All right? V'amar Rabbi Yehuda bar Ashi Mishmei the Rav. Rabbi Yehuda bar Ashi said in the name of Rav, Bais Hapras shenida tahor. Bais Hapras that was trampled upon by many people who use it as a thoroughfare is tahor. Think of this as you going down the Appalachian Trail. Some place where people have walked so many times, what's happened, they've cleared the trail. So if enough people have done the army crawl and they've cleared this, you can actually see the clean path, and you could just walk through the Bais Hapras because you see where people normally go. Because we assume that any bone fragments that were brought to the surface by the plow were crushed under the feet of the passerbys. It says, yeah, they're crushed. I think it
Why
means
can't they just
pushed
get
apart.
a rake or something and make a path?
Why? Because
Why
it's,
do they have to make a path with their own mud, like army crawl?
no, it said initially that this is how you would do it. And then the second part was, but if you're dealing with that type of place where they've gone through it many times, there's already a path. All right. Tashma. Come in here, the following braces. I'm Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok. Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok said, Medalgin hayinu al gabe aranas shamesim across Malchei Yisrael. We would clamber upon coffins of dead people in order to greet the kings of Israel. And they said this not just for Jewish kings, even non-Jewish kings, because so that he'll merit to witness the Messianic era. And I always wonder why do we have to watch the Queen of England, and things like that. The Queen of England.
Elizabeth still alive? She's alive.
I'm saying, what's so important about seeing kings and queens, all right? Because we get from that the understanding of honor that we ourselves, when we will have kings, I'm going to read, all right? We're able to discern between the far greater honor that will be bestowed on the kings of Israel and the lesser honor that's bestowed on idolatrous kings. Now, why was this permitted? How could you honor giving honor to royalty outweigh the biblical injunction against a Kohen becoming Tameh? All right? Lema, again, let's say the pasuk, Ein Chachma v'Ein Tzfuna v'Ein Eitzel Neged Hashem. There's no value of wisdom, understanding, and counsel who weighed against the honor of Hashem. The Gemara resolves the difficulty to the Rabbah. It's as Rabbah said. Amar Rabbah Dvar Torah. By biblical law, ohel kol sheyesh bo chalo tefach chotzes b'fnei hatuma. As long as a roof overhangs an empty space of 1 cubit tefach, it can act as a barrier against the corpse's tumah. Now we're talking about the coffin itself. As long as there's a space above the dead body of a tefach in the coffin, then that space itself will get rid of the tumah, and there's no problem for Kohen going about. Of course, now apparently these coffins have to have aeration on the side. In other words, they have to have holes on the side because it has to do with this tumah thing, whatever. So it can't be a closed coffin that just has a space on top. It has a coffin that's got slits on the side, like shark slits, or the early 60s vet, remember that one? Slits? Okay. Oil kol sheyesh bo chalo tefach chotzes mipnei tumah. As long as the roof overhangs an empty space of 1 tefach, it's bare against tumah. V'she'ein bo chalo tefach, and when if it doesn't, eino chotzes mipnei tumah. It does not act as a barrier against tumah. And most of them have this space. This is at this point, it's a good reminder to check your BMI, that it's not too big, lose weight, or pre-order your coffin because you want to make sure that the coffin will have enough space above your body for tefach. All right. And if you're English, you could put in the bell, so just in case they bury you alive, you could ring the bell. And by the way, and that's the source of the word, he's a dead ringer for someone. When they see someone, he looks like someone who died, dead ringer, because really the guy who died didn't die, was alive, he rang the bell, they took him out, and now you see him again. All right. The Gazru al Sheyesh Bahen, that's the source of that, yes. But the rabbis legislate, but this is not a halacha shin, it's not a source here for nourishment. All right. But the rabbis legislated that even those coffins that do not have the airspace to contain the tumah should be treated, within them should be treated as if they did not. Mishum she'ein bahen, on account of those coffins that actually do have enough airspace to prevent the tumah within them from escaping. Mishum kavod Menachem lo gazru bahu rabbanim. But since this is only a rabbinic decree, which were necessary for the sake of honoring royalty, the rabbis did not legislate this decree, and therefore a Kohen may climb over a coffin blocking the road in order to go and greet royalty. Wow. You know what I don't understand? When I was a kid, my mother's recipes wouldn't allow me to even walk over someone who's alive. You weren't allowed to step.
My mother also.
Mr. Gosh, you can't step over them. But maybe this was the source of it, because they wouldn't walk over dead people. Or they walk over dead people, this, that, etc. Okay, the Gemara continues. When you do that, I know it means get moving. The Gemara continues to challenge Rav's teaching. Tashma, all right. Come in here, the following Bais. Gadol kvad habriyas, human dignity is so great, shedocha es lo saseh b'Torah, that it supersedes even the negative commandment of the Torah. You asked this the other day. Does this include wake up? Yes, he did. All right. Lo says as well. V'amai. Now, why is this so? How could human dignity take precedence over Torah prohibition? Lema and Chachman and Tzvuna v'Yemetzel learn Hashem. Let's say the same thing again. Tagma Rav Bar Shaba Kamed Rav Kahana. So Rav Bar Shaba, while sitting in front of Rav Kahana, interpreted this brisa as referring not to biblical prohibitions, the lav, the lo tasur, all right, but rather to prohibition of flouting rabbinic authority, which is contained in the verse, you shall not deviate from the matter that they, the rabbis, will tell you. Sometimes reading this English, I can't understand. Anyway. Achichu alei. They laughed at it. Lavla delo saso deraisehi. The prohibition of you shall not deviate is also biblical. Flouting rabbinic interpretation, biblical law, is no different than a violation of any biblical law. Amar Rav Kahana, where Rav Kahana said, Gavar Rabba Amar Milsa. It's a great man like Rav Bashava says something, lo tachicho alei. You should not laugh at it, for it certainly has merit. Komile de Rabbanan asmechinhu alab de loaso. For the rabbinics based the authority of all rabbinic acts and legislation on the negative commandment of you shall not deviate. And it was such rabbinic legislation that Rav Shava referred to. Mishum kavodo sharu rabbana. For although the requirement to comply with rabbinic legislation is also a biblical commandment, nevertheless, the rabbis themselves allowed rabbinic decrees to be waived for the sake of human dignity. The Gemara continues to challenge Rav's teaching. Tashma, the salamta behem, right? The Torah teaches, and you shall hide from them. All right, this is when you're coming across a lost object. All right, this teaches that when you sight a lost object, sometimes you have to hide from it. In other words, don't go return it. But I thought you're supposed to return it. All right, and there are times, but we're learning that there are times you may hide from it. Okay, so when it's allowed, so let's say it's the Kohen, and he's in the basic forest, right? And he sees the lost object. Or it's an elderly man, but maybe it's not elderly. Maybe it's zaken. Is that kind of chachma? or it's a highly esteemed man. In other words, it's below their covers to go and pick up this lost object. Now,
The Yankees have it.
yeah, but the lost object, maybe it's a barrel of hay or something like that, whatever it is. Those people don't have to do it. Or if the finest work is of greater value than that of his friend's object, he likewise doesn't need to pick it up. All right, so he's getting paid $1,000 an hour, and returning this thing that's worth $5 is just not worth it to go and waste an hour doing it. All right, because of these situations, he's saying, therefore, you may hide from a lost object, meaning you could just ignore it. All right, that is, he need not pick it up. Amai. Now, why is this so? Why should the elder be permitted to stand on his dignity and not fulfill the mitzvah of returning a lost object? Lema ein chachma. Here we go again. Let's ask it. Let's say there's no value to wisdom or understanding or counsel when weighed against the honor of Hashem. The Gemara resolves the difficulty. Shani Hasam. It's different there. There's a pasuk. Since it's written, you shall hide from them. So the Torah is telling us that you can't go against the Torah. It's telling us that. So let's derive from here, by generalizing from this verse, that human dignity indeed overrides even Torah prohibitions. All right, here we go again. Gemara answers, we cannot derive the law regarding the Torah prohibition from the law regarding monetary matters. The Gemara continues to challenge Rav's teaching. Tashma, come here the following. Lachaso ma, Talmud Lama. All right. When the verse is talking about the Nazir, that he can't contaminate himself, it says, it says, to his father and his mother. And then it says, but for his brother and sister, what do we learn from it? Huh? All right. It teaches us that if a man was going to slaughter, in other words, he was going to do the mitzvah say of Korban Pesach, or the mitzvah say of doing bris milah for his son, the shama shemeis lo meis, and he heard that someone close to him, like his sister, died. Yacho yapso yutame. We might think he's supposed to stop what he's doing, go back and be metame, and he shouldn't continue his way. All right. Amarta lo yutame. But you would then counter and say, no, he shall not contaminate himself. Yacho kishem or bishem? What's that? Yacho kishem sheinu metame lehem. And you might conceivably, here we go with the Chachmas, conceivably suppose that just as he's not allowed Matami himself for them, so therefore he shouldn't be Matami himself for Meis Mitzvah. That's why the pasuk says Lachoso. In other words, for Lachoso, he does not contaminate himself. But for Meis Mitzvah, he does. We're up to Chaf on top. At least we're touching that page. I'm got 15 minutes. Of a Matame Hula Meis Mitzvah, you can't do a mitzvah. Am I? All right. Now, why is this so? How can the Torah allow human dignity to supersede the performance of mitzvah? Lema ein chachma v'ein tefillin v'ein ha'tzol l'neged Hashem. Same thing. Shani Hashem. There's a case of an unattended corpse. All right. It's different. D'chsiv lachos. So, for it's written unattended again, that's the Meis Mitzvah. Meis Mitzvah means, just to remind those people, or tell people don't know, you're walking in a field between two cities, you find a dead body. You don't know who it belongs to. It's a mitzvah to bury it. There's a whole story there about the base sins of both cities. The Sivla for specifically written or for a sister. The Ligma Minei, let's derive from that, Shevi Al Tasa. Oh, so let's learn from that to merely sit and refrain from doing a mitzvah is different than actively transgressing the Torah prohibition. The Torah indeed allows one to refrain from performing a mitzvah, such as offering the Pesach offering or circumcising one's son, when considerations of human dignity demand it. But one may never actively transgress a Torah prohibition, such as wearing a mixture of wool and linen, that's the shatas we mentioned, even for the sake of human dignity, and that's why you have to take it off right there in the middle of the marketplace. In such a case, we apply Rav Stichim, there's no value to wisdom or understanding or counsel weighed against that of the honor of God. Right. The Gemara tells of an episode which relates to desecration and sanctification of God's name. Amalei Rav Papa Labayi. Rav Papa said to Abayi, Ma'ishna Rishonim that is Charish Lahu Nisa. What was so different about the early generations? Those guys, they had miracles. We mentioned Chani Amago the other day. All right, Ma'ishna. And what's so different? We don't get miracles like that. If it was because the early generations surpassed us in Torah story, that's not true. But at the time of Rabbi Yehuda, all the study that they studied, they were just studying Nezikin. They weren't doing Daf Yomi, covering all the Shas. Come on. But none, Kamas Nisan, she does Sidrei. But we're covering all 6 orders of the Mishnah. The Rabbi Yehuda booked in Moreover, who, when in the course of his lectures, Rabbi Yehuda would arrive at the subject matter in Maseches Uktzin, such as the following Mishnah. A woman's preserving a vegetable in the pot. The Amar law, another said that it was in the Mishnah of Zaysim Shekavshem B'Torah Pehan Taharim. Olives that were once preserved together with their leaves of tahor. By the way, I just want to show you, here is a picture of olives, all right, growing, yeah, I know you know an olive, but you don't realize, you see as you pass this around, that the olives have their own little stem that then is connected to the leaf. All right, but look how it grows. Concept. It's a long stem. It's a long stem growing on the branch. All right. Olives are once preserved together with their leaves are tahor. Amar, he would say, I see issues so obscure as to equal. Thank you. Chazani is my son. Chazina hacha. Thank you. I see here issues so obscure as to equal all the penetrating discussions of Rabbi Shmuel put together. In other words, he's trying to say, hey, this was tough stuff. The Flesa Tibosa, whereas we nowadays say they attracted in 13 different versions. Thus, we're superior, here they're arguing again, to Rabbi Yehuda's generation, Torah scholarship. Bila Rabbi Yehuda, you have a shelf, Yet when there was a drought, Rabbi Yehuda would merely remove one shoe, now they're showing the miracle, as a sign of affliction, and all of a sudden the rain would come. He knocked off his shoe and it didn't rain. Now, I don't know what the connection to shoe is to rain.
You think the shoe, that shows that you're sad.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Yeshakar Chaim Jun. Okay, so by removing the shoe, he showed Atzmus, and that's a little bit sad. Hashem made it rain. Whoa, see how they got miracles instantaneous. And then the Kamitzari Nafshin, whereas we afflict ourselves, mitzvah and cry out profusely in prayer, release the mashkach bun, and no one pays attention to us. Yeah, there's some, you can sometimes go into some minion, you see people crying and nothing's happening. It's not raining, it's blue skies. All right, it's happening, yeah, but I mean, not like the way it was instantaneous. Abayi answers, Amalei. Then again, I guess it depends who said this. So Abayi to our papa, come a habuka masare nafshe akdushas Hashem. The early generation sacrificed themselves to sanctify God's name, and they were therefore deserving of having miracles performed with them. We don't sacrifice ourselves to sanctify God's name. Mara gives an example. So Ravada Barava, he saw this kusis woman wearing a karbalta. It's like, I guess, some head covering. So the Bas Yisrael, he didn't know she was a kusis. He thought she was a Bas Yisrael, a Jewish girl. And this was like a red, very kind of enamored scarf. It was a little too pretty, you know. It wasn't theistic. What?
Flashy.
Too flashy. Okay. And so what did he do? He ran and he tore it off her. All right? Imam is tore it off. It's like we just said, taking off the shatnez jacket. The Galei Milsa, the Chusisi, when he discovered afterwards, oh my God, he took it off Kusis, all right, he had to pay a fine. Shaisa Baba Mezuzah, he paid 400, all right? How do you know he had to pay 400 zuzah? He asked her, what's your name? Amalei Mutton. She said, my name is Mutton. Mutton in that language meant 200. So he said to her, Mutton, Abba Miyazuzah Shabbos. That's how he figured out to pay her 400. Another story. Rav Gidel Ragil, the Havakah Azil, B'Yosef, Asharei Tefillah. Rav Gidel used to sit in front of the women's mikvah in order to give instruction to the women how to go to mikvah. All right? Amalo, people would say, the rabbis raised him, no, he would say to them, this is how you should do it, this is how you should do the tefillah. Amalo Rabban said to Lo kam mistape ma mi yetzara. Aren't you worried about the yetzara? You think about, you're seeing these women, you think about them going to the. He said to them, these women, to me, they look like white geese. So here's a picture of women going into the mikveh in his day. All right, just when you see the picture. All right, please pass this around. That's what the women look like to him. All right, beauties in the eyes of the beholder, like white geese. Rabbi Yochanan had a somewhat different practice. Now, Rabbi Yochanan, he must have been very good looking. He would sit in front of the woman's mikveh. He said, Amor. He said, when the woman will come out and they'll see me, mistaken be, because I'm sitting right here, but never in Lahu, Zara the Shapira Kavase. Since he was so good looking, their kids will all look like them. All right, so this is a reason why husbands should always pick up their wives from the mikveh. All right, so the first person that the wives would see would be a husband, and therefore the kids would look like their husbands. All right, here's an example of a front family that the husband always picked up the wife from the mikveh, and everyone looked just like the husband. Okay, pass that around. All right. A couple of minutes. He sucked up and says, okay, what? Mistaken very, Amalo Rabban, the Rabban said to him, Lo kam mistape ma meina bisha. Is a master not afraid of courting an evil eye against seeing all these from women coming from the mikveh? Amalo, he replied to them, Anamizara the Yosef Kase. He says, I come from Yosef. Shevet Yosef. Lo Shata Be'aina Bisha. All right, the Ayin Hara has no power over Shevet Yosef and its descendants. The seed that's written, Ben Paris Yosef, Ben Paris Alei Ayin. A charming son is Yosef, a charming son to the eye, meaning that the Ayin Hara has no power. Amarav Abuo, Atikre Alei Ayin, Ella Olei Ayin. Don't read Ayin. Rather, Ole and raising over the eye. In other words, Ayin Hara doesn't have power over him. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina, Ramahacha, he says, he says, the bracha that Yosef got is they should be proliferate as fish. They'll be as many as like fish in the land. And what we know, Madogim Shabbat Bayam, Mayim Mechasim Alayim, just like fish in the water covers them, all right? So the Ayin Hara has no power over them. So too, the progeny of Joseph and Ayin Hara Shalat Bahen, let me finish by the Mishnah, all right? For to say, Ayin Shalo Rotzta Lazun Mima Shena Shalo. Or in the case of the nice, such as Joseph, that did not want to join as his. Remember, Yosef ran away from Potiphar, his wife, all right? So, so a guy was so much koyach that he could stay away from the view of his wife. And Ayin Hara can't touch. All right, we're up to the Mishnah. Rabbi, take over. Thank you for whoever was listening.